If you want to avoid paying high homeowners insurance costs when buying a home here in Melbourne, Florida, I'm going to tell you the 4 things that you absolutely must know if you want to avoid high homeowners insurance costs. And we're going to give you one bonus tip that's often overlooked, so stick around. So higher homeowners insurance is a significant pain point here in Florida, and in some cases it's having a significant impact on affordability. So to help go over what you can do to avoid those high insurance costs, I'm joined by my man, Chris Delbridge. He's our favorite local insurance expert, and we're gonna get into that. And I'm also gonna give you one bonus tip that's often overlooked, so make sure you guys stick around till the end. So Chris, in your opinion, what's the #1 thing that impacts the cost of insurance?
Age of construction.
Age of construction.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll give you an example. End of last month, 1997 house, 2019 roof. I was gonna go with a particular company, can't say it on the video, but from when I spoke to him at end of April, the guidelines changed May 5th to 2014 or newer statewide, so that option became ineligible, which he had to pay more.
Okay.
So age of construction is arguably, I think, the biggest thing, because a lot of carriers won't write if it's over 5 years, if it's over 10 years, if it's 20, it just depends on the carrier. But that number dictates what the options are.
So age of construction dictates everything. Obviously, new construction is going to be the best option. It's going to give the most options.
Yeah.
Secondary to new construction, what would you say age-wise?
I think it would just start to be like the age of like the actual main 4 components of the home. So like the roof, the electrical, the plumbing, the AC, what age those are, but the roof being the most important factor out of those.
Okay. So the #1 thing that impacts the cost of insurance is going to be the age of the home. So Chris, what would you say is going to give somebody the best pricing and coverage options in terms of age of home?
Brand new construction, so like 1 year or newer, but 10 years or newer would keep the most options on the table. When it starts to get to over 10 years, specifically in Brevard County, that's where the options become more limited. And maybe you have to go to Citizens because of that, or to stay outside of it, the price is higher because there's less options.
So more coverage options, lower price, 10 years or newer or new construction. Can you get insurance on a home that's older than 10 years?
Absolutely.
Okay. So you can insure an older home. If you want the best coverage options, make sure you look at new construction or something that's 10 years or newer. The #2 thing that has the biggest impact on the cost of insurance is going to be location. Can we get insurance on homes in Brevard County?
Yes.
Can we insure homes that are beachside?
Yes.
Okay.
Depending on, you know, the age of construction and the value of it, that's where the variables come into play. But yeah, I mean, it's tough to say yes as a blanket statement on anything in insurance nowadays, but I'll say yes.
But it's an option.
Yeah.
So beachside compared to mainland, which one's going to give you, in theory, a better, if you're comparing apples to apples, the same exact house that's in Cocoa Beach and the same exact house that's in Melbourne, which one in theory is going to be cheaper based on location?
The one in Melbourne.
Right. So mainland versus Barrier Island, mainland is always going to be cheaper in theory.
Right, just because of the fact you have more options.
Got it. The #3 thing that's going to have the biggest impact on insurance is your opening protection. And opening protection is essentially any opening of the house, meaning doors, windows, garage doors, anything else?
No, so impact windows and or shutters. Like I was saying, I think it was 2018 or newer in Brevard that all new construction has at least the front of the home impact glass, and it comes with shutters. But if you have an older home and you made the windows impact, you want to make sure that keep the information for that. And also if you have shutters that have serial numbers, that those aren't brushed off, because it becomes hard to prove it on an inspection for that. But yeah, opening protection is every opening, every window, even sliding glass doors. Your garage door needs braces, and then as well as the front door.
Now, do different types of hurricane shutter systems provide bigger discounts than others, or no? So as long as it's got the proper opening protection, you're gonna get a better insurance price.
Yeah, it boils down to the window itself of its impact. because if it wasn't impact, then you might need shutters depending on the situation. But shutters, end all be all, if that are there and you have every opening covered, that would be factored in. Opening protection, which can be a very large, it's usually percentage based. So if the premium's exponentially higher, like we're saying Barrier Island, if we're putting opening protection on that, since the premium's higher, the credit is gonna be higher too, which will lower that price.
So the number 4 thing that's gonna have a very significant impact on the price of your insurance is gonna be the age of the roof. What do we need to look for in terms of age of roof?
15 years or newer if it's shingle. Really over 10 is tough to insure, to be honest with you, because even though it meets eligibility guidelines on the front end, a 15-year-old roof in Florida with how hot and humid it is and how many storms we have might not be in good condition for it to qualify. Maybe the insurance company does an inspection on the back end after you own the property, deems that the roof is not in condition that they want to insure it, and it might be, we've seen unfortunately that happen a lot. So if it's 10 years or newer, it's not gonna have as much damage and be easier to insure.
So if a roof is over 10 years old, can it be insured? And if so, what has to happen?
Yes, more than likely you're gonna use Citizens, which now they need on your 4-point inspection. So like if the home is 20 years or older, with Citizens, you're gonna need a 4-point inspection. Most carriers need that at 30 years. On the roof portion of that 4-point, where it says estimated remaining life, it needs 5 or more. If it says less than 5, it's not eligible with Citizens.
Got it. So if the roof has an estimated lifespan of 5 or more years, it is insurable by Citizens.
Yes. And we're putting the power of all that in an inspector's hands. I know to me, that's silly, but that's what Citizens requires.
Okay.
So claims in general of any property that the buyer has had previous to the property that they're purchasing. So claims from previous houses affect eligibility, specifically when it's non-act of God. So if it wasn't a hurricane or tropical storm, it was a water pipe bursting, it was a theft because you didn't lock the door, you left the gas on and there's a fire. But those kind of claims are the ones that hurt you for the next 3 to 5 years from eligibility with the carrier that you're trying to get when you're getting new insurance and you're buying a new house. And in the same breath, the claims from the house that you're buying, from the seller in this situation, of if they've had something in the past 3 to 5 years and it's not an act of God. So if they've had a water pipe claim or something like that, maybe it says, says water damage, closed out $0. An insurance carrier is gonna see that. Well, what happened and how was it fixed? So it just causes questions which then affect if it's gonna be eligible or not. You always want things to work on the front end. Once I have to go to an underwriter, I do get exceptions, but they're much more limited nowadays of yeses versus nos.
And so even though these are things that a seller should disclose on the seller's disclosure, it could be overlooked, right? Yeah. So really the moral of the story here is if you're buying a house, you want to shop for your insurance as early in the process as possible during the inspection period. And that's something that you guys would be able to catch then. If you were submitting reports to underwriting and trying to find out insurability for a home, you would then know at that point whether or not there were going to be problems due to the seller's previous claims on a home. Correct,
yeah. And the 4-point would be the biggest layer before I even start quoting it, because that could tell me if something right there has damaged, which it's not a you problem, it'd be anyone buying the house problem type of deal. But that would affect, if you could get insurance or not, and then that wind mitigation is just gonna reduce the pricing as much as possible.
So look, if you guys have questions about this or anything else, definitely reach out. We help people from all over relocate here to the Space Coast, and we'd love to help you. You can call, text, or email, or if you just wanna talk to Chris to get your insurance questions answered, or to maybe even have him look at a policy that you currently have or you're shopping, we'll be happy to get you in touch with him. You can call, text, or email us. Once again, it's down in the description. So sticking to these principles when buying a home here in Melbourne is gonna definitely help you mitigate your insurance costs, not only now, but for years to come. And you'll also be avoiding a lot of the common insurance pitfalls we see when people are buying homes, and avoid a lot of those myths that you see out there in the headlines. And if you wanna know the truth about what really matters when buying a home here on the Space Coast and how it's gonna impact your insurance cost, then watch this video next. I'll see you there.